What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Sports Depth Podcast with Joey Alfieri and Simon Tsalikis. It's the first episode post-trade deadline officially. Canadians are coming back to the East Coast after was it successful? Was it not? We'll find out in just a couple of moments. But we've got a very busy episode of you. Lots of debate, lots of spicy talk. And I want to start here. Tsalikis, over the weekend, I went to a sugar shack, Cabana Sucre, and I was wondering, I've never heard you say, like in all the years that we've known each other, I've never heard you say, hey, I'm going to Cabana Sucre or whatever. You know what I mean? And I invited you to come today and you said, oh, you're so Canadian or whatever you said. Are you a sugar shack kind of guy?
I've been many times. I've been a couple of times as a dad. But if I run you back through
as a dad?
Yeah, with my family, with the girls. I think we've been like twice maybe. But
how old are your daughters?
My daughters are 18 and 15.
And you've been twice with your daughters?
Yeah. They would go every year too with the school though, right? So it was a little bit, not the necessity. And then shout out to, if it's still called Notre Dame du Cap. That was my elementary school, good little francophone school in lovely Chambéry, Laval. And we would probably go twice a year.
Twice a year?
Yeah. It was a very, very serious. It was a very serious outing, Joey. Nobody missed that outing, man. That was.
It's only open for like 2 months, Simon. You guys went once a month.
Oh no, we went twice a year. I remember we would go to the beginning.
But that's what I'm saying. You went You went once per month, like the stretch it was open, because it's not open like the food and stuff. It's not open all year round. It's open like 2 to 3 months.
You know what? I don't remember eating and stuff. I just remember, I don't remember what the name of the term is where you would eat the syrup off the snow and stuff.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, our producer Sam is like turning over in his grave, right? He's not dead, but he's freaking out at your lack of Quebecois cultural knowledge here.
Well, how many times has Sam gone sugar shacking? That's the question.
I think Sam goes every week. I think they go every Sunday.
Sam goes sugar shacking in a chalet in Tremblant at $3,000 a weekend. That's how his.
That's a fair point.
Yeah. And then I would remember, Joey, maybe we would go up there and we would go there and tap the trees. So we'd be walking in the forest and, this is serious stuff, bro. This wasn't a joke. This wasn't for people who came from,
It's not for me.
No, not for you.
But the big puffy omelet, the ham, the little sausages and maple syrup, oreille de Chris, is that all, does that happen?
It happened when I went with my family. I remember less of it happening when I went with a school.
So you are in your mid-50s? Can we say mid-50s?
I think you can say that if you like. Yeah, I think that's a relatively...
And you've had Cabana Sucre food twice. You're born and raised in the province of Quebec, and you've had Cabana Sucre food 2 to 5 times.
No, because I've been times when you've been up north and there's restaurants that serve that type of breakfast and food and brunch or whatever you want to call without the without the 300 people in snowsuits in and around you. It's a little bit more restaurant-ish than it is Cabana Sucre. Yeah,
I like Cabana Sucre, but once a year for me, not more often.
Did you see I remember when I would go up there, there'd be like a little bit of a very small petting zoo or something.
There was. I don't feed or pet the animals.
Okay.
It's not my thing. But there was my son, 2 years old, very impressed with a mountain. I don't think it was a mountain goat. I think it might have just been a normal goat. Don't ask me what the difference is. There was a goat, a donkey, and some sheep.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Anyway,
beautiful.
Okay, let's pivot because I don't want people changing from one podcast to another. Tsalikis, before we get into everything that went down over the weekend, over the trip for the Montreal Canadiens, 1-1-1 out in California, right? 1-1-1, lost to San Jose, lost in overtime to Anaheim, and won by the skin of their teeth, but still won against the LA Kings. Just like your level of disappointment based on the fact that they didn't. I mean, they made their move early on with Philippe Deneau in was that November, December? But what was your overall reaction to nothing being done, including your boy Patrick Laine not even getting moved?
Yeah, I'm a little bit surprised that there wasn't any acquisition to help just the back end, number 5, number 6, some pro depth on the blue line. And Joe, they made their moves, though. I know it sounds silly, but they made their Dano move, they made their Texier move, and they made what you would call in today's Noah Dobson was a massive move, man. Like, you went and got a legitimate number one, a guy that I think might have had a 70-point year in there, was on the short list for Team Canada when he was healthy. So I know it was, several months ago in the middle of summer or whenever it was, but Dobson, Texier, Dano, I think that's a pretty busy front office, and I don't think that second line center that they wanted. I'm sure the Robert Thomas was available, Nazem Kadri was available, not willing to pay that price. But I am a little bit surprised that they didn't just go a little bit more, very generic, cheap hockey term, a little bit more sandpaper on the back end of that blue line.
Yeah, that's what I thought what was coming, because honestly, Simon, there was no way they were going to add a forward. Like, they're already way heavy.
Yeah.
They're way heavy up front. The goalie thing, I mean, we talked about it a little bit last week, but I don't think either one of us saw them making a splash in goal. I thought that they would probably roll with what they had for this year, and then maybe they explore something shorter term next year. But I really did. I thought that they would add a defenseman. Now, based on what Kent Hughes said before the Anaheim game, right after the deadline had passed, it was super intriguing. To say that he had basically mentioned that we were really far in with something like a significant hockey trade, and we just ran out of time, and it's something that we'd like to revisit in the summer. That got my mind going, and I'm looking all over the place, and I'm trying to think, what is it? I don't think it was, I think Robert Thomas. I think people were plugged in on the Robert Thomas for, Dreger had it, fairly early on in the day that Buffalo and St. Louis were all in on talks, and it just never ended up materializing. But I feel like if it was Robert Thomas, you would have probably heard something about it. But maybe it was somebody else. Like, was there another defenseman? Are they going to go out and make a splash for another blue liner? Is that something that might happen over the course of the summer? Maybe. Was I disappointed? Maybe, but I'm talking about, my expectation was a 5-6 defenseman. I didn't really think the Robert Thomas thing was gonna happen. I don't think it necessarily fits in. You look at a lot of the moves that were made, like you had Mike McCarron for a second, Nick Dowd went for a pick. Like, these are all, again, this is a move Canes made months ago. Nick Roy
went for a first, I think.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
And we talked about the Kadri and Trocheck thing, and good for Colorado to go out there. I mean, Colorado's in win now mode. I think Montreal's in win close mode. I don't think they're quite at the same level as Colorado, but I'm not 100% sure I was all in with a guy in his mid-30s with 3 years left on his deal for Kadri, and then a guy in his early-ish 30s. I think he's 32, or he's going to be 33 this summer. He's got 3 or 4 years left on his. I didn't think the Canadians were going to do that. We talked about it a little bit last week for what it was going to cost, but I was okay with it.
Yeah, I didn't have to me, the Kadri was more the decline in play, but again, I don't tune in to watch the Flames that often, and was it a drop-off in his play?
But it's 3 years left, son. It's a long time.
I don't think that's a bad number, though. I don't, I know that 3 years, you envision, forget this year, let's say you envision yourself in October of this year, and pick it, whoever you want, Trocheck or Kadri. So you're living in a world where it's Suzuki, Trocheck, or Kadri, Kapanen, Dano, Evans, and then 2 years from now you slide Michael Hage into the lineup. And if I'm just thinking your perfect world, your perfect scenario where everything works out in your favor, and then probably in the third year of Michael Hage's career, you bump him up in the lineup, and then at that point with Trocheck or Kadri, you have a year left on their career. Hey guys, no disrespect, you're going to play behind this kid. You're going to take on a third line role. So I didn't have a problem with the.
Yeah, but Simon, you're blocking yourself from making a deal this summer, though. Like, this summer, if you go out and you get a Trocheck or a Kadri, like, you're blocking yourself from making a deal in the next few months.
But those are nice. Listen, Joe, if Nazem Kadri had 35 goals a year ago, right? So if he was having that year again, meaning he's sitting on 25, 26, 27 goals right now, and the game still looks like it's crisp, and you know what he is. He's a dog. He plays center. He can take the heavy minutes off Nate Suzuki. I think there's a very good offensive mind. I believe the 3 years in Toronto, there might have been 3 30-goal seasons right there. So the guy knows how to find the back of the net. So if you handicap yourself, but you acquire a guy that can sniff around 30 goals, that's okay. That's okay. But I think just its price, I think the drop-off in some offensive play probably scared off the Canadians.
Was this a good trip, Simon?
I think so. Joe, you lost by a goal. You were dead and buried against San Jose. You got back in that game. Tough penalty. They beat you. It was 7-5 with the empty netter. You go to Anaheim. You get they score on you late. You pick up a point, and you were absolutely dogged in the first period of that LA game. I think things balanced themselves out in the last 2 periods of that game. But 3 out of 6 points. Joe, you play 500 on the road in any sport at any level, you're good. Now, if this was game 7, 8, and 9 of the regular season, yeah, there's a lot to discuss. There's a lot to look at. There's the first period in LA, the closing of the game with the Ducks. We're gone with the style points now. And that is just, today I was yesterday was scoreboard watching Sabres, Bruins, Red Wings. It's about points now. It's not about style points. Tough road trip to come up from the break. But, they put the big line together and it produced. And I also think that the Kings have been their nightmare, so it's not a team that they match up well against for whatever reason. The Anaheim Ducks are very, very good at hockey. That's a good hockey team. So I'll take the 3 out of 6 points or some stuff to clean up as well. Sam Montembeault, not good enough. Dobish, very good, I thought, on Saturday night. So I take the 3 points and move on. What was your the great Max Pacioretty once said after a...
2 points is 2 points.
Man, whoa.
3 points is 3 points, man.
3 points, 3 points. 3 out of
4 points? You know what 4 points is? 4 points.
4 points, that's it. So I think you take it and you move on.
I'll say this. Look, I think if you tell me 1-1-1, if you just look at it from that perspective, you say to yourself, yeah, that's good. You went out west post-Olympic break. Some of your players didn't get a break and whatever. I mean, you come back 1-1-1, I'm good with it. I just think that this trip also allowed me to see, we're late in the season. There's no more help coming. So this is what it's going to be. And they have a really hard time keeping the puck out of their own net for a plethora of reasons. And they give up way too many high danger chances. The goaltending oftentimes is not up to par. It has me. I think it was a good trip in terms of points. It was a trip though that had me staying up late, and you're locked in because there isn't as much going on around you, and I'm just like, man, this is going to be a problem in the first round. No matter what your matchup is, whether you get a 1 seed or whether you get that 2-3 matchup, if you're going to play leaky like this and you're going to give up 7 and you're going to give up 6 and you're going to give up 3 and you're going to need, a crazy last 5 minutes on the road to get a win in LA, I'm not disappointed because I thought that there was a lot of growth. I wasn't 100% sure they would be in the playoff picture this year. After they lost or they let a couple of veterans walk in free agency. So, to me, this was never a Stanley Cup year. This was just part of the growth, and I was hoping to see some growth, and I've seen some. They've been there. They've been in the thick of it the whole season. But I am concerned from a this year standpoint anyway. I am concerned of the in zone coverage. I'm concerned at the lack of goaltending that they get on a lot of nights. It's coming up way too often. I know there's goalies across the league that are struggling, but I just think if you want to get out of the first round, I think this is the recipe for disaster to have success in the first round. It's really, really tricky, I think, for Montreal to survive anything, to survive a Buffalo or a Tampa or a Carolina. I mean, man, it's going to be tricky if you can't play a little bit better without the puck in your own.
Yeah, look, I think the one thing that Kent Hughes has to do is identify his number 5, 6 defenseman. I think he's very content with his top 4. But, Joe, they live in that world, though. This is what happens when you have elite puck-moving defensemen like Lane Hudson and Noah Dobson. And this is what happens when you have a very good puck-moving Mike Matheson. It's great that these guys push offense. I think, the 3rd highest scoring team in the National Hockey League.
Yeah, that's not why they're bad in their own end, Simon. I feel like there's other guys too.
These guys don't excel at that. You look at the Matheson goal on Kreider. That's got to be better. You can say people could be critical of Montembeault. It's a deflection from 3 feet out. So I think they've designed that offense the blue line in a certain way that it does push offense. It does help. There's a reason why you're the 3rd highest scoring or 4th highest scoring team in the NHL. And then
you're not going to win that way when it matters.
No, but their thing is this: we'll see how far this gets us, and then like you talk about that off season where you start to say, okay, Hudson and this guy for 82 games, Matheson and this guy for 82 games, Dobson and this guy for 82 games, and you try to balance it out with a Savard type defenseman from last year. They got to get more physical in their own end, and they got to be more responsible in their own end.
I'm going to say this right now, and I know there was at least one of the goals I thought Dobish would probably want back. The other night, when the shots are 16-1 in the first period, though, you're thankful for the performance, and I'm not going to take anything away from him. Though I think he's the number one goalie. No, Montembeault, we're into March. You know how patient I was with this. I have no faith that it's going to turn around this year. I do think maybe he can flip the switch next year, but as for this year, I just don't see it. So to me, I think this team is going to go into playoffs with Jacob Fowler, Simon. That's really how I think it's going to play out. I know he's just coming back from an illness. He came back over the weekend from Laval. I really think that this is going to be. I think this is going to be a Fowler thing in the playoffs. Yeah.
I just said, you asked me, how they played. Well, I was not even more about how they played. It's about the number of points that they picked up. That's all that matters at this point.
Yeah.
And like you said, the Montembeault thing, they've tried, Joe. They waited. They played well against Winnipeg right before the break. They want to get him going. They want him to play at a certain level. The same thing with Dobish. But, like I just told you, Columbus, on the weekend, they got a point against Utah, I think, in overtime. Their last 20 games is ridiculous. Ottawa Senators have won a couple of games in a row. You just don't have time to wait for anybody. At the beginning of the year, I was worried about the Fowler bringing him up. The development, young goalie, you don't want to hitch a team to this young guy and tell him, we sink or swim with you, young man. That's tough. But now, an entire season in the American Hockey League, he's come back, he played well. Yeah, I think, games against Toronto and Ottawa as well, so everybody is within a 50-minute flight of each other. I don't think the patience will be there anymore, for Sam Montembeault or Dobish. If they have to go to Fowler, they will go to Fowler.
Yeah, that's how I see it. That's where I'm at, and we'll see what ends up happening this week. A big week for the Montreal Canadiens. It starts on Tuesday night against the Toronto Maple Leafs. Sellers, the Toronto Maple Leafs. Bobby McMahon, Scott Lawton. Who else? You mentioned somebody. Roy was moved as well. So they sold off some assets. Then you go to Ottawa on Wednesday. So you got those back to back, and then the San Jose Sharks and Anaheim Ducks. You see them again on Saturday and Sunday. Simon.
That's nice.
Yeah, and you get the Bruins on Tuesday at the Bell Center. So that's fun.
Yeah, that's how it should be. Very nice.
So
that's a little bit of different brand of hockey too, right? Yeah. A Leafs team that you're a lot better. A Senators team that's right there with you. The Senators are trying to bring the physicality, and then two young teams on the weekend that want to skate. So. You'll get, and look, right now on paper, Joe, without making any moves or this or that, you're going to see Sam Montembeault twice. Or will you see Sam Montembeault?
Yeah, well, that's where I'm at. I think this is going to maybe be, and when I say last straw, I don't think, he's not going to play again from now to the end of the year. But this is going to be the last real opportunity in my mind for Sam Montembeault to show, like, okay, I'm going to salvage this because he's going to have to play. You're not playing Dobish 4 times in 6 days. No. It's Tuesday, Wednesday, with some very, very light travel to Ottawa. So I do think that they're going to split. And then Saturday, Sunday at home against the West Coast teams, I think you're going to split those two. Montembeault's got to give you something. Again, I don't think he will, but he's got to give you something.
Yep. Yeah,
all right, Tsalikis, be good. Have fun. Enjoy your week, and we'll talk again real soon.
Yes, sir.
All right, this has been the Sports Step Podcast with Joey Alfieri and Simon Tsalikis. We're on a new schedule. We're going to have episodes come out on Monday, on Wednesday, and on Friday for now. And we'll be back in studio shortly. As you can tell, if you're watching, we're recording from our own areas. Look at that. I got a gym. Oh, there's a bike right behind
Joey has a gym in his house, everybody.
Yeah, exactly right. So we'll be back in the studio shortly, and we'll have a bunch of guests join us over the next few weeks as well. We've got a lot coming up. Simon, are you excited?
I am, man. Meaningful hockey coming down the stretch here, 20 games, congested.
About the hockey. I'm talking about the podcast. I'm not talking about hockey.
Oh, yeah, for sure, man. Well, listen, I don't want to do a podcast with a team that's a seller at a deadline, Joey. So it's much better to do a podcast when the team is not a seller at the time.
Yeah,
So,
we tried to sell off. We tried to sell off assets too as a podcast. We were sellers, but nobody wanted what we were selling. So
they don't want microphones or chairs, nothing, zero.
people, they didn't want our people either. So we're just gonna piece it all together and give you the best darn podcast you've ever heard. Simon, have a good week. We'll talk to you soon.
Yes, sir.
This has been the Sports That Podcast. A reminder, if you're watching us on YouTube, please subscribe. Man, Tsalikis bounced. Please subscribe and leave us a positive rating. Leave us a comment. If you can't stream or you don't want to stream or whatever, you can also you can also listen to us audio file only, Apple Podcast and Spotify. You can find us there. Have a great rest of your week, everybody. We'll touch base with you again on Wednesday after the Montreal Canadiens take on the Toronto Maple Leafs at the Bell Center. We'll be back.